why am I just here just to stop other people struggling? Like, I've struggled so long. Why do I have to keep going through this like pain just for other people? Then what am I scared of? I'm not scared of failing. I'm just scared of not being able to cope. Welcome. That took a while to set up, but we're here. This is a podcast that I wanted to do where I sit down with people and I talk about mental health. So for this first one, I've got two of my mates. I've got Abe and I've got Henry. And we're going to do like a friend's perspective. Going forward, I'm going to get on people who have different mental health diagnoses, or maybe they haven't been diagnosed, but they have their own experience, and just talk to them, ask questions, and raise some awareness, really. So yeah, should we go?
Yeah.
Got some questions. Let's
do it.
Let's just start off. So the first thing I kind of want to ask is, obviously, back at school, when I look back, I felt like I had a lot of anxiety, right? Didn't really know what anxiety was at that point. But in retrospect, like, I was constantly scared of like what people thought of me. And something that was really weird was like filling in the gaps. Like, I felt like if I didn't have something to talk about and there was any like awkward silences, then I was like making that person not like me, right? So like,
when did that start?
well, I think, so it's difficult because like, I assume as a child, like as a kid, I assume I didn't have that, right? It's not something I remember. Like I remember being fairly confident when I was, I don't know, primary school, but like how much do you even remember of primary school? So I would say it probably started, probably like 13, 14, probably puberty time, honestly, which is obviously quite a big, I think like a large percentage of people's mental health comes out at that point.
You become quite self-aware at that age, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think, I guess mental health was talked about quite a lot at that point, but it wasn't something that I was clued in with. Like, I kind of knew I struggled, but I didn't know that was struggling with my mental health. I generally, to be honest, I just thought it was like normal, up to a certain point where it got worse. But yeah, so I kind of want to ask, do you think from an outside perspective, you could see that in school? So Henry, so Abe, you started secondary school, you came into our school in like year
10 and 11.
10. So Henry was there for more of school and primary school. Abe wasn't there for primary school at all, were you? So yeah, Henry, what do you kind of remember?
The thing is, you masked it really well. That's the thing. Like, you had this cover, this calm, collected cover that you can't really see anything behind.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's, a potential reason why, when you mask things for like loads of time, it can start really imploding after a while. Like, did you I don't know, did you talk to your friends about it? I can't remember you having a conversation with us about it.
Well, that's interesting, right? Because these days, I'm the most vocal person about mental health, right? Part of the reason that I'm doing this. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to talk about something you don't really know about, right? So like, I could go to my friends and I could say I'm not feeling right, but like I wouldn't really know what I was talking about. So I guess at that age, it was a lot harder. I guess because there wasn't as much awareness of mental health, it was a lot harder for me to come forward and say things. And let's be honest, teenagers are ruthless.
Oh,
like school,
especially Chailey.
Yeah, school was.
Coming back from Beads, going back to Chailey.
You're just doxing us.
Yeah.
By the way,
huh?
Got a location.
No. Well, I'm not going to give out the address, am I? Well, yeah, we went to Chailey school and what? No, secondary school is like ruthless. But then yeah.
But that's the thing. I felt honestly at secondary school, I felt like I spent the whole time in like survival mode, like just trying not to be like picked on.
Do you reckon like the social pressures of being that age in that environment triggered this or magnified it a little bit?
I mean, school definitely. Like I don't know. Like I was at a weird place in school where like I wouldn't call myself like popular in any way. Like I never really had like problems with people. Like I got on with most people, but like I had no interest being like part of the big group. You know, I just didn't really care about that.
Well, you're not like the thing of secondary. You have to be sporty. It's kind of like
I was quite, to be fair, it's quite sporty.
you do have to be quite sporty.
I think, I can't really remember. Were you sporty, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're all quite sporty.
I was a gymnast.
It's just, were you in secondary school?
Not in secondary school. I think I had to give that up.
You just have to be very talented at selling Lucozade and sweets. Right at the start.
That's true.
That's how you gain popularity.
I actually remember that. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I also had the thing of like I got in a fairly long-term relationship at 14, which meant that.
Did you?
Yeah, don't say the name obviously.
No.
But I think that meant that because I was already like struggling, I felt like I was struggling to like fit in places because of that, and I felt like I was basically just really anxious having conversations with like normal people. I basically thought that the best way of dealing with that was just spend all my time with my girlfriend. Like, just hide away, basically.
But in your brain at the time, do you remember thinking, like, diagnosing yourself with something or labeling it as something? Was there that going in your brain, or were you just like, this is not normal?
I think I knew it wasn't normal, but I also think, like, when I look back, I honestly think there was a kind of a sick part of me that liked that I wasn't quite right. And honestly, I think I let. Yeah, I don't know. It's like it was almost like I was looking for an identity, and like this idea that my head wasn't quite right was like some sort of identity. And I think I remember things like, obviously sensitive topics, but things like self-harming. Like, I don't think I self-harmed like once or twice, but I don't think it was ever for the like kind of real reasons that people might to like take away from their emotional pain. I think it was just like, look at me, like there's something wrong with me. I generally think I kind of leaned into that.
What's that called? Like an individuality complex?
If you're telling me, yeah.
Teacher's aid.
Yeah, teacher's aid. What's an individual complex? Reality.
Individuality complex is where it's like same as like a god complex, where you kind of get your mind, you want to be different, and everything you do is different.
Yeah.
And people see you as different, and
like emos, basically.
Yeah, you breathe as different. Yes,
I can see there being quite a lot of positive aspects to that as well.
It's good and bad,
like,
but then you
need to be
yourself.
unique in this world. Like, you need to stand out in some way. Like, yeah.
I think sometimes you label yourself and get stuck in that label, or you.
I think for me at that point, it was unhealthy to be leaning into something that could be like really bad, and I don't think that benefited me. Like I should have spent more time focusing on getting away from that headspace, but actually I leaned into it, and I think therefore it was more likely to stick with me. But it's all like it's a chicken and egg thing, isn't it? Really, like, was the mental health issues causing that, or was that making the mental health issues worse? And then obviously it got to went into college, and then things got like really bad. And at that point it was like, okay, I'm not leaning into anything. Like, I want to be away from this. Like, it became a thing of like, I this is not something I want. Like, I'd almost fantasize this idea of mental health, and then suddenly I was hit with like real like mental health that made me, like, not want to be here anymore. And at that point I was running as far in the other direction as I could, basically. But yeah, I kind of want to move on to the next question. So another question for both of you, but probably more so Abe, because I think Abe's been present a bit more for the last few years, because Henry, you've gone off to university.
Bad friend.
Bad friend going to university. But you both might be able to answer it anyway. I guess, I mean, I have experience of this, obviously, talking to other people with mental health, but what's it like hearing that someone is in such pain, in such mental pain, I guess to the point where like they're considering, you know, ending things. As a friend, how does that kind of feel?
I don't know. It's weird because for me, for the majority of my life, I had the complete opposite experience. Everything I kind of sort of happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
So kind of hearing your story, kind of it was like just kind of hard to compute. I just didn't understand how that worked.
Yeah.
There's you were going through that, and you couldn't get out of that, whereas I could just be happy on a day-to-day basis, and I just didn't.
Nice, isn't
What's the secret, man?
Yeah, yeah, share it with us.
But yeah, it was just kind of it was obviously hard to just like to fully understand, because obviously you could sympathize, but then to empathize and really understand what pain you were going through was a little bit different. So it was kind of like a learning curve as well, because
yeah, to understand something well, you kind of have to have been you have to have experienced something similar yourself, really. Yeah, Henry, I don't know how much we've really spoken about how much I've been struggling, but
No, we definitely do have conversations here and there. I remember, I do remember that moment though, that specific moment when I, you know, saw what you were, you know, about to do. That was terrifying as a,
yeah,
that's, but it's just crazy that someone so close to you your entire life can kind of go down that route.
and just give some context, because obviously people aren't going to know really what we're talking about unless they know me. But in I think 2020, I'd gone off to university, and I basically got to a point where like I just couldn't cope anymore. And so I tried to end things. I think I put like a Snapchat story up. Like I don't know how many people saw that Snapchat story, but basically in the end I was found, and then put into an induced coma for a week. And I can imagine how kind of scary that was, mostly for my parents. Like obviously they were probably shit scared, but also friends. Like so that's kind of the situation we're talking about, what Henry is talking about. So I guess get straight into it. How does that make you feel? Like, is it kind of surreal, I guess, to hear that something like that has happened?
I think surreal's a very good word to use, because when I learnt, I didn't think it was real, and there was no part of my brain or body that was kind of thinking, oh, like extreme sadness or fear, because there was just I just didn't accept it. Like there just wasn't.
I was with you.
Yeah, we were working, but
we were like this just isn't happening.
Yeah, this is it's not. Yeah, it's not real.
It only hit us really like a lot like later, like a week, two later.
Yeah.
So like kind of digging in, yeah.
And at that point, I guess I was in hospital. So what you heard about it? What, straight after it happened?
Yeah.
So did you see the Snapchat? Or did you not
so we were both working, and then I kept on getting calls from one of our mutual friends, and then he actually came to the place that we were working at and said, "Have you seen this?" I think it probably just at the point where he was arriving, one of us checked our phones and saw that, because people, I think a few people were messaging us, and then obviously then we went to your parents, and your dad was sort of having the same mindset as me, where it's just like he's not gonna freak out until anything's confirmed. But yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because it's obviously quite a deep topic, right, to talk about, and obviously this is actually the first. I mean, maybe you've told me before and I've forgotten, but this feels like the first I'm actually hearing of this, and I guess the first like experience anyone else has told me about how my parents were feeling. Like obviously I kind of heard from them, but obviously after it happened, they didn't want to sit there and talk about it forever. Like
I swear so many people calling your parents actually that day. Like
Yeah.
they were getting so much like
well,
the inside.
because I put a Snapchat story up. Like it feels like it feels stupid. I mean, obviously, in my head it was like. In my head, it was like because it said thank you. I think mostly it said thank you to people who had been there for me, and that was the message I wanted to get across. And I was genuinely in a place where I didn't like I was hoping to succeed, right? But then I also wondered that like, was there a like kind of deep part of me that thought, okay, if I put a story up, then chances are someone's going to see it. There's going to be more chance of someone finding me. Like, if I really wanted to succeed so badly, would I have bothered to put
What? So it's like your last cling of like hope in that situation.
Essentially, like almost subconscious. It's like, okay, this at least gives me like one chance that it won't succeed.
You know, it affects the people around you so much. I when I first heard it, I kind of like blocked out because I just didn't. I just couldn't believe it. But then afterwards, when I started hearing more about the process, after I started like blaming myself, like because I would consider myself one of we're all best friends here. Like, you know, we're all from. I'm not going to say where our village is. But we're all in the same place. No, but I think I started blaming myself. Like, what could I have done better as a friend? And it's hard.
I think sadly that is quite a natural. It's a natural response, isn't it? Like to blame yourself. I think it's also a common thing to feel like suicide is selfish because in its nature, suicide is selfish. Like all you're doing in theory, right, is you're transferring the pain. That's what people talk about a lot. You're transferring the pain from one person to 100 different people, 5 different people, 10 people, different people. It doesn't matter. However many people you have that care about you, which you will have someone who cares about you. All you're in theory doing is transferring the pain. I think from someone who's been there, you're not thinking of that. I mean, maybe you are considering that, but you're thinking, you almost get to a mindset of why am I just here just to stop other people struggling? Like I've struggled so long. Why do I have to keep going through this like pain just for other people? And I think that's the point you get to, and then you get to a point where you just start mentally blocking out. You stop yourself thinking of the effect it will have on other people, and I think a lot of people pretend. They almost tell themselves, "Oh, they'll be better off without me." I think that's people get to the point when they're struggling so much that.
But they never are. They never are though.
No.
It's such an internal problem. They never are.
Yeah. It's sort of like I guess that thought process is to help them commit properly, because if they are thinking in the mindset, oh, people do want me here, then it's going to be harder for them to go through with everything.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like you go back and forth so much, but at the core, you're struggling and you want an escape. So you start to convince yourself of certain things that make it easier to make that step, basically.
Was there ever a part of your brain thinking like how people would react if you were to have gone through it, effectively? Was there any part of your brain kind of in the lead up to whenever you felt like that, that'd be like, oh, okay, these people would feel like this certain way?
Yeah, to be honest, I think I thought about it a lot. Like, I really think I thought about it a lot. And that's what I mean when I say that, like, you get to the point where it's easier to block that out because, I don't know, it's like a conflict between struggling so deeply and, like, I guess, and being scared. Because, like, our bodies have a natural response to not want to die, right? Like, your body is scared of that thing, but also balancing that with, I know this is gonna break people. Like, I know this, like, to be totally honest, it's still something I kind of believe now that, like, and this might be stupid of me, but, like, I still believe that if I succeeded with that my friends, they would have struggled, like, including you guys, obviously. They would have struggled, but it would be something they got over. Like, they're young, they're, like, pretty much still teenagers. It was my parents that I couldn't, like, it would break them. Like I thought about it a lot, and I thought I don't think there's any coming back from losing a son. I generally don't.
No.
And I would just be trading out my mental health for their mental health.
I mean, that is like, when you have a son or a daughter, it's all about them now.
Yeah.
It's like everything you've done in your life, it's for them. Yeah.
And I think, interestingly, so I'm not gonna like sit here and pretend since that situation I haven't. I mean, obviously, like we met up and spoke a lot. I was in a horrible position for a couple years, I would say. After that, like I was still heavily, to be honest. Maybe not a couple years, it was on and off, but I got in. Obviously I was on that medication that was like harming me, but there was a lot of instances where I arguably felt worse than I did before I attempted, and all I had in my mind was my parents, honestly. And do you know what, I remember having a conversation with you, Henry, which massively stuck with me, where you had said that you'd seen my mum maybe while I was in hospital or afterwards, and she just looked pale. Like she just looked like she was struggling. Like I remember you telling me that, and obviously I didn't see that, but I just had that image in my head. So every time I felt like I wanted to try that again, I just had that image in my head, and I just knew I can do it to them, basically. But it took me nearly not getting away with it to actually like really realise that.
But it's been massively different since then.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the other questions that I kind of wanted to speak about was like, obviously for me, the past year, it's been like no other year since I was probably 14. Like it's still
in the countryside.
Yeah.
The lights are loving the flies. The flies are loving the lights.
Yeah, it's jarring. I had people. This one of the questions I got asked after like I came out of hospital and everything. I think you asked me this, and I was quite honest with you. Like I hate this question so much, but it was like, are you happy that you like failed? Like, are you happy that you didn't succeed? And at the time, it was like, it's been like 2 months, man. Like, no, I still feel the same way, honestly. And I know people don't want to hear it, but if you don't want to hear it, don't ask me, because I still feel that way. But this was end of 2020. We're in 2024 now. In the last year, I finally in the last year finally reached that kind of like, oh shit, I actually like things have got better. Like I haven't been able to say things have got better for years, but this last year things have really turned around.
It did speed up, but everything was, because there was loads of milestones along that journey, like the getting off the prescriptions, that whole painful journey, and then
Getting
different
off one of
things,
the prescriptions.
and then
still on one of them.
That is really interesting. Actually, like, I mean, how do you feel now?
What, right now?
Like literally right now. Like no, seriously. Like actually, like doing a podcast. Like right now, how do you feel?
To be honest, like
indifferent.
No. It feels actually this podcast thing is one of those things where, like, in the past year, a few things like this has happened where I've gone, how the can you do that, sir? Like, how can you actually sit there and talk in front of a camera? Like, where's the anxiety, man?
Yeah.
Like, I'm still heavily anxious. I'm still anxious pretty much all day, every day. But, like, I don't know. I think I've pushed myself so much over the last couple of years, and I had therapy, which I think was really helpful, to the point where like I've stopped trusting my anxieties as much. So I've generally got to the point where like I'll feel anxious and I'll be like that, my anxiety would be telling me not to do something, right? And I've got to the point that I've shown that anxiety wrong so many times that I can be like fuck off, you're wrong. Like,
do you know what I always say to myself? I'd much rather feel stressed than doing work instead of guilty of not doing it.
Yeah.
Like distracting yourself is like, that's because I've definitely had like points in my life where, you know, when I've gone through it and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe not like nowhere near like as, you know, hard, but like,
It's not
you know, just to
comparable,
get
really.
through life in this day and age, like you just need to distract yourself. Like it's
Yeah.
just the best way forward.
And
just
yeah, as well as I think acknowledging reasons you're feeling certain ways. But I kind of agree with you, because I think that's what's really changed in the last year. I've become a lot more get up and go. And that's what something I've, like, the way I've described you, Henry, to like everyone over the last few years is you're the most just get up and go person I know. Like you don't second guess anything, you just do. And like the amount of kind of success you've seen, I would say, in like with film, uni, just with things in life, it's clear that works to a certain extent, right? And I guess I've got my anxiety to a point now where I can do the same thing. Yeah. Just get up and go. Like it'll be telling me
awesome.
Yeah, I know, it's sick, to be fair. My brain will be telling me like, nah, you can't do this. Nah, you're gonna have a panic attack. You're not gonna do it. But like, it's now a thought in the back of my mind rather than a thought in the front of my mind.
Yeah.
And I can only see that's text again. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
we need to definitely turn off our phones.
Yeah, mine's muted.
Yeah, sorry.
No one messages me.
Yeah, no.
Do you feel like having a goal has helped?
Yeah.
Having some like a dream to work towards, like this.
Yeah. I mean, say this, like, not podcast, but this whole thing with TikTok, with this, it's become a thing of like, it's the only, to be honest, like I've gone through so much, like I've learned so much about mental health, that the only thing I care about is like, I guess, sharing that message and helping people who are going through the same thing. I think if you don't have something you're striving towards, then life becomes very depressing very quickly.
I think for everyone. I think for
what's that little dream? Yeah.
Everyone needs it. Everyone needs that thing they work towards. And I think for a lot of people who are like, especially with depression, I feel like a key component of that is that they don't have something they're working towards. They don't have something that they know they want to do.
Well, I have this. I used to have this thing in tennis. I'm sorry I'm bringing this up, and like it's a weird thing, but I would always the way I'd get nervous, I would always play not to lose instead of play to win.
Well, that is human nature, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're extremely risk averse, so we'd rather not get all the glories from like taking a leap, over failing miserably.
Yeah.
So we'd rather not do something, you know, that could put us in harm's way, because we'd prefer not to get hurt. Which,
taken to an extreme, is just the premise of anxiety, really, isn't it? Like you're scared of failing, essentially. That's all anxiety is. Like even if it's, for me, I'm scared of going out and having a panic attack and then having to leave, that's my failing. Like I failed at something. It's not like essay stress is a big one. Like academic stress, something my parents say to me is like, well, you've proven you can get decent grades, so what are you scared of? And I try explaining it's not that I'm scared of failing the course. It's hard to explain because like then what am I scared of? I'm not scared of failing. I'm just scared of not being able to cope, I think. And maybe that's because all the time that I have had not being able to cope, maybe I'm like almost like traumatized. Like I'm terrified of that feeling of not being able to cope. How did your experience with my mental health shape or change how you viewed mental health? Did you know much about mental health before that? Really?
No, I never. I really didn't think about mental health until that situation arose with you. Before it was just a theory. It just showed me, you know, how real it can get.
If it was a theory, right? So you heard about it, right? Like it was something you'd heard about. Where would you say you'd heard about it from? Because it's not like they teach you stuff in schools, is it?
It's in movies, it's in TV shows, some in news.
They exaggerate it so much.
And everyone's probably had a family friend, or a friend's parents who have gone through something like that.
I think what's interesting now, I mean, maybe it's just because like I'm very involved in sort of, I guess, in mental health now and talking about mental health, but it seems now to me that like every even year that goes by, we just see more and more mental health issues, and I don't know if that's because we talk about it more, so there's more to hear about, or if people are getting unhappier, people getting more anxious.
Do you know what I'm seeing a lot more? It's the is it the you know those therapy adverts? I don't know if it
Better
Oh,
help.
better
help.
help.
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
seeing so much of that.
They keep on
Yeah.
targeting me.
Yeah, they're targeting me.
Yeah.
Like this, I don't know if this is a bad thing to say or not, but I find it so strange that they are advertising mental health for their own like companies. Are they not earning money from this, from all these people going up to them?
One of
I
their,
see so many
yeah.
adverts. So
one
many.
of their ads was which I thought was relatively strange on YouTube, kept on going at me, which was the best way to get over a breakup is with therapy, and I always kind of thought that in the beginning I was kind of like, just get over it, but obviously that is definitely not obviously the kind of the way that
I think breakups are, because breakups arguably the most important thing with a breakup is just time. Like time heals with breakups, but I don't know if I necessarily agree really. Like therapy isn't for everyone, but like in a lot of cases it's a very beneficial thing to do.
of course.
And I think places like BetterHelp, they offer therapy online, right? I think at a lot cheaper cost than like other places do, right?
Okay, fair enough.
Which is like, yeah, if they're trying to, maybe they make money, I don't know, but they're trying to create better access to therapy, because we know how the NHS is. It's terrible. I mean, it's great that it's free, obviously, but waiting times for teenage mental health like it's like 2 years or something stupid. I know a lot of people who really struggled in those few years going through puberty, basically, right? From like 14 to 16. I know people who really struggled in that time and then kind of just got over it. And I think there's a kind of clear difference where if you have someone with mental health problems and then you have the hormones of going through puberty and stuff, those can get a lot worse, and chances are when they're through that, the mental health will still be there, right? I do think that in a lot of cases there is people who the hormones are essentially creating that uncertainty, creating that anxiety, and that then they get through it. The issue then is that if you get people like that who go for unhealthy coping mechanisms, like this is something I always wondered about myself, like if I just let everything sit, hadn't messed around with medication, hadn't messed around with any unhealthy coping mechanisms, then would I have got kind of through my issues a lot quicker? Like I wouldn't say I'm through them now, but like would I have started to see the other side quicker than I had when I went down my route, basically?
Could it have been like an impatience thing, just wanting to be gone, the pain to be gone now, and so you kind of go down different paths?
It's kind of linking back to that distraction kind of thing. Like that's the other route to distracting yourself is that is like the easy route to
I think,
distracting yourself.
Yeah, it's essentially suppressing it, isn't it? Like you feel like when my mental health came really bad, I basically got stuck in like, it was almost like an everlasting panic attack, and it was terrifying. And if you told, I mean, doctors probably did tell me at that point, like, it will pass, just hold out. I think I went to the doctors and like I was hoping to get some sort of medication, and they essentially said that kind of thing to me in the car with my mum on the way home, just bawling my eyes out, like screaming, because I was like, how, like I can barely take this for another minute. How do you expect me to just sit and wait for it to like to end? And I think that's the problem. Like unhealthy coping mechanism, they're quick fixes in your mind, but long term you do a hell of a lot more damage.
Yeah.
I think that's why people turn to them, and that's the whole thing about addiction, isn't it? Like, those people are trying to suppress some kind of emotional pain, arguably some kind of physical pain. You got all the stuff in America with painkillers, essentially.
Opioids.
Yeah, opioids and addiction with that, and it's all the same thing. It's people trying to make themselves feel better, basically. And it's hard to tell a teenager who's really struggling that they just need to wait, or that they should try meditating, they should try doing something like this, when they might have access to a quick fix, essentially. And I think that's where mental health issues then get a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah. If I was in like a doctor's shoes and so, someone was coming up to me that really wanted help, I don't think I would say wait it out. I would say like attack the problem. Like sum up, what's going wrong in your life, what's going bad in your life, and I don't know, just try and find all these weak spots in your anxiety that you can just, keep pushing, against almost. Like keep finding new things.
I think the issue with that, I mean, like to a certain extent, you're right, but like take me for example, it didn't feel like there was something in my life that was causing me anxiety. It felt like I had broken my brain. Like there was no external thing causing it. I was just stuck. Like I was stuck in this thing, but I was stuck in this fear, essentially. I was just panicking about that feeling of panic because it scared me shitless, basically.
That is so complex.
It's pretty complex. And I think, interestingly, the main therapy, EMDR, which is what I've done, and I think helped me probably quite a lot. It's kind of about breaking through that cycle and not feeling that panic without reacting to that panic with panic, essentially. Because if you panic at the sight of panic, you just get stuck in a never-ending loop. And I think that's what happened to me for a long time. And there's this it's called the DARE technique. I think they've done a book, they've got an app as well, where essentially it's this idea that when you feel anxiety, you sit down and you just let it consume you. You just let it do whatever it wants to do, right? And you tell yourself, you start telling it that you don't care. The thing is with anxiety, right? It can never hurt you physically, right? But for some reason, your brain is stuck telling you that you're in danger. So if you sit down and you say to it, "Come on, then,"
I love that. Yeah. I just sitting down, just letting it all come. Come on, then. What do you want?
Why tease me with this panic? Even I started saying to myself, give me a full blown panic attack. I don't care. Just stop teasing me with this on the edge thing.
Yeah.
And I think again that was one of the things that was really beneficial, because I stopped at the slight. Because the thing is with the panic is I'd feel any emotion in my I'd feel my legs ache. I would feel my heart race, and because I was so used to panic, I would think that means panic's coming, right? And instantly, self-fulfilling prophecy. I would panic because I was already expecting the panic to come.
Yeah.
So a lot of the therapy I tried to do early on, I don't think it was that beneficial, but a lot of that was don't react to that feeling. I've got a pain in my leg. Oh, how weird. That's strange. Oh, my heart's racing. Oh, how weird. That kind of reaction to it rather than, oh, what's happening. And I think that's something that everyone should try if they're struggling with anxiety specifically.
Yeah, I don't know if it relates, but I get moments when my heart, let's just say I'm going off and to talk in front of quite a lot of people.
Yeah.
I my heart would proper. Yeah. I know that's a lot more of a natural kind of thing, but
yeah.
I mean, I would go up and I would just look at everyone in the eye. I would try and look as many people in the eye just to really feel comfortable. I'm trying to link the people that I'm talking to anxiety itself, just looking it in the eye, and facing it like that.
I think everyone I think everyone has different ways of dealing with anxiety really. But yeah, if you can, yeah, I think when you're really anxious, there's a sick kind of like confidence that sometimes comes out of nowhere where you're like, no, like this, like I'm gonna own this and I'm gonna do this. But I think when you get so lost in like being someone who's anxious and being stuck in those cycles, it's hard for that like voice to kind of come up. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think it's really what's interesting in your case is the fact that this is the route you've taken. You know that you really enjoy, and it's helping you.
Yeah.
When I would think of mental health, I think I don't want to think about it, and then I don't get consumed by it. Like if I put my whole life towards this thing, I will become consumed by it. But it's just had the most. You're a very interesting human being, Seth. Like I just love that. I love the fact that, like when we talk about facing it and stuff, like this is how you're doing so much better these days. Like so much better than what you were.
Yeah, it's arguably. Yeah, but it's weird because I think this kind of thing I'm doing now hindered me in the past because I think it almost made me more inclined to act up on certain ways I'm feeling, whereas now I can separate that. Like I can talk. I think talking about how I'm feeling is my healing. To be honest, I think if I can just meet up with a mate and just like talk about how I'm feeling, like I feel so much better. Like that's just me. And I mean, we're doing a podcast right now. Like this is healing for me. Like
transparency is so key sometimes. I don't know. It's so key.
Literally, I think, and it's a shame because obviously another thing I hope we do with this. A lot of people have this view that like men, shouldn't talk about their feelings and shouldn't share and stuff. And I hope that kind of like if enough people see this, it'll help to break down that idea that men shouldn't talk.
Sometimes it's not even the talking is the healing. It's not getting advice. It's not getting the friend to help you get through it. It's just talking it out, so it's out there. It's with someone else now, and you can also. I think it's just also your brain kind of then kind of flipping it into words and converting that into a conversation, which then solidifies it in your brain, so you have a better understanding of it, and it kind of makes I guess it heals, makes it kind of easier to.
And that's internally as well. I mean, externally, you have people that will give you feedback on it. The more you talk about it, the more opinions you're going to get on it, and the more. When you have 10 opinions you can feed off, like you have so many more angles you can focus on it.
I think like Abe said at the start of that, like the solutions, the advice doesn't really matter, honestly. Like I feel like very rarely do you go and see a friend, be like, oh, I'm struggling with this, they give a suggestion and then you go and do that suggestion. I almost feel like you kind of know what you want to do anyway, and you probably end up doing that anyway, but just meeting up and talking it through, it's like a weight lifted off your shoulder, isn't it? Like you've just talked about it.
You're not the only. I know, like everyone's got their own mindset, their own kind of perspective, but just listening to like other people's opinions can it just helps. It helps you make a decision. Like you're gonna make you yourself. You're gonna make the final decision, but you have 10 other people's decisions to choose from. Like not choose from, to guide you almost, to make your master decision.
I think sometimes you need to be in the right state of mind to even take advice, because you sometimes, I think one of you said this, I think Seth, you've already said about Henry, about his remark about your mum. There's certain things that stick with people. There's certain advice that will stay in your brain, and I don't know what is the defining factor why it sticks and why other stuff doesn't go in, or you don't even want to listen to it. But maybe it's to do with if you have an open mindset. Like you might go into it thinking you have the answers, or you want to do it this certain way, and you want either validation or you want to just talk it through with that person, but your goal isn't to get advice.
Yeah, I think even sometimes just reassurance, like this is what I want to do. I feel like this is the right thing to do, and someone going, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Like even that is just. That's enough. We've talked about some really important things, had some interesting conversation, and I hope that people can watch this and take something from it, and importantly, take that like it's okay to talk about these things. And I think next episode I'll try and talk to someone who's got a specific diagnosis and ask them questions about their experience. But yeah, I just want to say thank you, Ave, thank you, Henry.
Thank you for having us.
Helping me set it up. Thanks another one of my mates for helping with the audio. Yeah, I think it's gone really well. Sweet as.
And thank you guys for watching.
Okay. Wait, what did I say?
Sorry, I know, it's bad. Theory, just after you said theory. That's a whole nother topic, to be fair.
Got through the struggles, or the struggles got through them.
Before it was just a theory.
Yeah, before it was just a theory. Wait, can I just like ramble for a while and get into it?
Go.
Yeah, before it was just a theory. F*** me. F*** me. Come on.
You didn't